Nvidia stock is sitting around $207 right now. But here's the question. Where does NVDA go from here? $250, $300, or could Nvidia actually reach $400? At first, $400 sounds almost crazy. But remember what happened to Nvidia over the last few years. This company went from being known mainly for gaming graphics cards to becoming one of the most important companies in the entire AI revolution. And here's where things get interesting. Nvidia's latest quarterly revenue came in at about $81.6 billion. That's an incredible 85% increase from the same quarter a year earlier, and Nvidia is guiding for roughly $91 billion in revenue for the next quarter. So the real question isn't whether Nvidia is growing. It clearly is. The real question is, how much of that growth is already priced into the stock? That's what we're going to figure out today. And stay until the end, because I'll give you my own realistic NVDA price target. Not the crazy $500 prediction. Not the doom and gloom $150 prediction. I'm going to tell you the number I personally think makes the most sense. Let's start with the numbers. At around 200 SEK per share, Nvidia is already one of the biggest companies in the world. But the interesting part isn't just the stock price, it's the business behind it. Nvidia's latest quarter produced around $81.6 billion in revenue, and data center revenue alone was about $75.2 billion. That's up roughly 92% year over year. Think about that for a second. We're not talking about a small startup growing from $1 billion to $2 billion. We're talking about a massive company generating tens of billions of dollars and still growing at an incredible rate. That is exactly why investors continue to pay attention to NVDA. But there's a catch. The bigger Nvidia gets, the harder it becomes to maintain this kind of growth forever. And that's where the $250, $300, and $400 targets start getting very different. Let's start with the easiest target, $250. From around $207, that would represent a meaningful move higher. But it's not an unrealistic number. In fact, if AI infrastructure spending continues growing and Nvidia keeps beating expectations, I think $250 is a very reasonable bullish scenario. Nvidia isn't simply selling one popular chip. Its business is becoming much broader. GPUs, networking, AI systems, software, and increasingly complete AI infrastructure. The company is also moving toward its Vera Rubin platform, and that's important because Nvidia doesn't want to sit still and let competitors catch up. So if earnings continue to grow and the market continues rewarding AI leaders, $250 could become a relatively easy milestone. But here's my question for you. Would you buy NVDA at $207 if your target was only $250? Or would you wait for a better entry? Tell me in the comments, because this is where the risk-reward discussion becomes interesting. Now let's move to the target I personally find much more interesting, $300. From approximately 207, we're talking about a gain of around 45%. That sounds huge. But when you look at Nvidia's earnings growth, it's not completely unreasonable. Here's why. Nvidia's latest quarter wasn't just good. Revenue increased 85% year over year. And the company is expecting about $91 billion in revenue for the following quarter. If Nvidia can continue delivering numbers like that, the market may continue looking beyond today's valuation. And this is where I think many investors make a mistake. They look at Nvidia's stock price and say, it's already too expensive. But price alone doesn't tell you whether a stock is expensive. You have to look at earnings growth. If earnings grow faster than the stock price, the valuation can actually become more reasonable over time. That's one of the biggest reasons I'm not comfortable calling Nvidia simply overvalued right now. However, I also wouldn't call $300 guaranteed. Absolutely not. For NVDA to reach $300 and stay there, I think we need continued AI infrastructure spending, strong Blackwell and Rubin demand, healthy margins, and most importantly, Nvidia has to keep beating expectations. If those things happen, my personal base to bullish target would be around $300. Now let's talk about the number that gets everyone's attention, $400. Could Nvidia reach $400? Yes, but I would not make $400 my base case prediction. And here's why. At $400, Nvidia would need a much bigger valuation and significantly higher earnings power than it has today. That means the AI boom can't simply continue. It would have to remain extremely strong. Hyperscalers would need to keep spending heavily on AI data centers. Companies would need to keep buying Nvidia's infrastructure. And Nvidia would need to maintain its technological lead against AMD and other competitors. That's a lot of things that need to go right. And there's another risk investors shouldn't ignore. AI spending expectations are extremely high right now. If Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, or other major players ever slow their AI capital spending, the market could react very quickly. We've already seen how volatile semiconductor stocks can become when investors start questioning the sustainability of the AI boom. So 400? Possible. But I see it as the aggressive bull case, not the number I'd personally use as my main prediction. Now here's the twist. The biggest threat to Nvidia might not actually be AMD, and it might not even be another chip company. The bigger threat could be expectations. Think about it. Nvidia is already delivering extraordinary numbers. So investors aren't asking Nvidia to simply perform well anymore. They're expecting Nvidia to outperform again and again and again. That's a much harder game. If Nvidia reports incredible earnings but investors expected something even better, the stock can still fall. That's why a great company doesn't always mean a great stock at every price. And this is something I think investors need to remember before chasing NVDA. So here's where I stand. If Nvidia stays around the current level and the AI infrastructure boom continues, I think $250 is a very achievable target. My personal realistic bullish target is around $300. That's the number I would focus on. Not because I think Nvidia magically jumps there, but because continued earnings growth could potentially support a significantly higher share price over time. And then we have $400. I wouldn't rule it out. If AI spending remains explosive, Nvidia maintains its leadership. Earnings continue surprising to the upside, and the market stays willing to give high-growth AI companies premium valuations. $400 could become possible. But for me, that's the aggressive bull case. So if I had to rank them, $250 realistic, $300 my preferred bullish target, $400 possible, but requires a lot more things to go right. But here's the question I really want you to think about. What if Nvidia reaches $300 and then suddenly the AI boom starts slowing down? Would you sell? Or would you hold for $400? And more importantly, would you personally buy NVDA at around $207 today? I want to know your answer. Comment below, $250, $300, or $400? Let's see what this community thinks. If you enjoyed this Nvidia analysis, hit the like button because it really helps the channel. And subscribe if you want more videos covering NVDA, AMD, AI stocks, semiconductor stocks, and the next companies that could potentially benefit from the AI revolution. I'll keep breaking these stocks down in simple language, without the Wall Street hype. Thanks for watching.